Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition, number 5, I believe, of the podcast Leap for Success. So, we're so excited to have you here and have our guest today. But as you know, the Leap for Success podcast is the conduit by which we share women's stories of courage, bravery, success, and diversity. Each week, we interview women entrepreneurs and leaders that have taken a leap in their lives to inspire our global listeners to be more, have more, and show up more, and live a life filled with joy, happiness through believing in yourself. So, with that, we're going to jump right into today's guest. I'm so excited to welcome Stephanie Schaffroth, and she is
Thank
based
you for
in
having
warm
me.
Arizona. I am based in cold Colorado today, but we're going to have a great conversation. I just know it. So,
Yes, you bet.
Stephanie, thanks for being on the
Yeah,
podcast today.
thanks for having me.
Tell our listeners, we have listeners all over the world, and they may be listening this week or next week, whenever this is published, or they may be 6 months from now. But tell us about Stephanie and what makes Stephanie so awesome.
All right, thank you. I am a native of Arizona. I was born and raised here. My whole family's from Nebraska. I have an identical twin sister, and it's just
Wow.
she and I. And I'm a farmers insurance agency owner. And funny enough, she's a farmers insurance agency owner.
Oh,
So we're
really?
totally, yep, two separate agencies, but we look alike, sound alike, and share our staff. So everyone thinks we're all one big team, which is the way we want it. So it's pretty
Wow.
cool. I've been with Farmers March of 25 will be 21 years, which is really neat. And I've seen the changes and the hills and the valleys. What I really like about the job is that I help people. That's really my favorite component of the job because this stuff could be tough. So I like to help as much as I can before a claim, and then certainly kind of ride along with them after a claim to make sure that they're okay. Um, and I also like selling stuff required by law. So there's that.
Yes, nice, nice. Yes,
If you gotta
everybody
buy it,
has
you
to
might
have
buy
it.
it through me. Not that
Everybody
I'm
has to.
like, Miss America answers. It's also required by law.
Right. That's great. I love it. I love it. We can do things that are required by law and we enjoy them too, right? There's
Absolutely.
no nothing saying we can't do both. So awesome. Well, how did you come to do this? You've been doing this a long time,
Mhm,
right? A couple
mhm.
decades. So, but how did you end up doing this? I love that you're a twin sister and your twin sister also is a farmer's agent and runs her
Yes.
agency. That's so cool.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know about insurance. I knew I had insurance and I knew I had full coverage and my windshield was okay, but other than that, I didn't know what I was doing. And I started at the LaCorte Blue Culinary School on the sales or admission team, and then I had a chance to go to corporate, so I did that for a total of 5 years, and I ate and talked, and it was the dream job.
Nice. Yes.
It was literally the best role I've ever had. Now I eat and talk, but I just pay the rent. So,
Right.
so that has not left me whatsoever, by the way. Um, and when you sell education, right? You sell intangible and you help people. It's really education is like, man, the traditional culinary student is not the one who's thriving in the English lit class, right? Sometimes
Right.
they are, but a lot of times they think with their hands, they work with, it's just different. So it's trying to find the right program with the right student and put those systems in place to have them do them. And I had a job where I traveled 100% of the time all over the country, having the thing. And then they said, well, we were out of a job. I'm like,
Oh,
what? And I either could move to, because in my position at the time I was a regional, so my options were either move to Chicago, which coming from Arizona did not sound that good, or I was out of a job. And I'm like, what? Because I always worked hard, always made my numbers, dragged all that noise. And I'm like, it made me very nervous because if I could invest this much time into a company who would, flip of a switch could say, you're out of luck,
right.
lady.
Ah, yeah.
It's not like if I did a bad job, I could take ownership of that, but it wasn't that component, just to lay off or read or I guess as a. And so I knew I had to own something because I'm a planner and I'm a doer and I did not want to do it, but I didn't know what to own. And long story short, it just fell in and I about insurance. I'm like, that's intangible and that you help people with that. And so I started and I was proud. To come on to Farmers as the first female district manager in the history of the company, 90 years. It was
Wow.
so crazy.
Congratulations.
I was the youngest, I was the only lady, and I look around, where aren't any other girls doing? I don't know. I still don't know. It was so
Yeah.
awesome. And it was here in Scottsdale. So I did that for 9 years in total. And as a farmer's district manager, you are a 1099 independent contractor, so it's your own little baby. And then you have agency owners like myself now, who I just help do their thing. And I also help recruit and train new agents to become successful agency owners. And so I did that and I liked it. When I was a district manager in '08, I brought my sister on. And so she built her agency from scratch. Um, and then she loved the job. District manager, I liked it. I didn't love it because it was, more corporate. I mean, still owned it. I liked that part. And then I know she kept saying, "Oh, I love it. I love it." I'm like, "Oh, it's neat." Well, what do you know? Instead of beat them, join them. In 13, I was able to buy an agency, which was the first time they ever allowed that opportunity, instead
Nice.
of building it yourself. And no kidding, since 13, there's not a day I don't love. It's so
Oh,
crazy. I
good.
literally, I mean, you have frustrating, points and conversations and all
Yeah.
that noise, but it doesn't last more than a day, and I come in,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, hell, this fresh day, here we go. And it's so neat. I really am thankful for
Good, good. I love
it. Yeah.
that. And thank you for taking all those leaps, right? Because you were the first in many ways
Yeah.
in the industry, right? In your area,
Yeah.
especially. So congratulations on taking those leaps because
Yes.
that's how we get to be in a job that we love or a business that we
Hmm.
love, right? Especially as women entrepreneurs, we have to take that leap from the most of us have had some kind of a W-2 or a contract, even a sales job or something like that. That is
Yeah.
a little bit more corporate. That's
Yeah.
out of our control. And then
Hmm.
we have to go and say, I want more control and let me jump in here, right? And it takes a lot of bravery and courage. It doesn't seem like at the time like that's the option I'm going to choose, right?
Right.
But there is bravery in that, in taking those leaps. So thank you for taking all those leaps
Oh
because look
yeah.
at all
No,
the
I
people you've
I
been
mean,
able to affect. It's
yeah,
amazing.
and I think that that's what's so interesting because just more competitive wise, I didn't know I was only first female at the time, obviously, but when I did, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I was. But my competition is very easy. Like someone I think in the lead community, I stole from turns from a collaboration. Like
Yeah,
instead of me saying, oh man, I'm the only one here, how cool. I'm like, It's not bad. The water's fine. Come on in and try and get more." I think that that's
yeah,
really where my heart is to get more women successful in whatever their vibe is, because once someone does it, they're like, oh, she can do it, I can do it. And I'm like, yeah,
right,
I don't have the secret sauce. I am.
right.
And I've tried to do that, and then I think that this community really allows for people to be a little vulnerable, saying, hey, I don't know. And everyone shares ideas, and a gal from another state who in a totally different industry might give you an idea or a power phrase that really transforms how you do what you do every day and makes a difference.
Yes, yes, I love that. I love that. I'm a big believer in community and sharing ideas. I use this quote. It's by Woodrow Wilson, President Woodrow Wilson, all the time, and the quote is, "I use all the brains that I have and all that I can borrow." Because I love that
No, I
because we
love
all need to borrow chunks of other people's brains, right? Because ours are limited,
it. Yeah,
data holders, right? There's a lot we can
totally.
store in there, but we need other people's ideas. So
I
I
love
love
it.
that too. And thanks, it is important for women to see other examples of successful women
Yeah.
and to have that idea of, oh, if she can do it, I can do it, right? And so, but it takes
Mhm.
somebody doing it first, right, to make that
Right.
example. So thank you
Right.
for jumping in the water and then inviting everybody else
Yeah.
in. I think that's so
Yeah,
important.
when you look at the different mediums or platforms, like for example, I have a 13-year-old who plays, flag football. In no way, shape, or form does he nor I think he will ever go to NFL. But if
Right,
I used to be in the NFL and I have a kid, why wouldn't that kid go? Because that's
right,
normal. So, what these, Zooms and these conversations do is to create a new normal, because it's no
yes,
longer my dad or mom did it. It's this lady did it. I don't know her, but I can do it. And so it's really
right.
cool. So it helps make more tangible the next step, whatever that is for someone.
Yes, yes. So how do you deal with, and maybe you don't have this anymore because you're so established, right? But I think all of us have it. Some kind of, it's got different labels, but maybe it's that imposter syndrome, or maybe it's, a little doubt or fear in your business. Like, am I really good? Like if you're getting ready to scale up or hire another employee or bring on somebody else, or tackle a new project, right? How do you deal with those kind of insecurities in your business as a business owner?
Sure, I think everyone has. I think it's to acknowledge, but then lock down your own thoughts very, very quickly if they're not positive. Because especially when you're on the island, if you will, in the entrepreneurial world, there's no one looking over here saying, "Hey, Stephanie, you got this." You've been here before. You're gonna be okay. You don't have that, and so you really have to be that referee of your own thoughts. And I think that I get my man. It was just no kidding. It was I had a really big account I lost, understandably, insurance, is
Hmm.
going bananas right now, and it happens,
Yeah.
and had nothing to do with me. Even if it did, there's nothing I could do about it. And I was bummed. And what happened is I noticed felt that feeling. I was like, this is going to change the dial for this month. Is started to wear on me, and then a couple hours in, it impacted my calls I had. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm going to let yesterday's loss flatten the rest of my day, if not week, if I don't get this locked in. And so I took a deep breath. I took a little walk, and I'm like, every call or every conversation is a chance to start fresh. And so that's kind
Nice.
of my mentality. But I think it's the physical walk. I think it's like the 10-minute timeout, saying, get your act together. And you have to do that for yourself because no one else is going to do it for you.
Exactly. I love that. That's such great advice, Stephanie,
Yeah.
because and I'm glad that you caught it because sometimes we don't even realize how we're kind of spinning negatively, and
Yeah.
it does start to affect every way we show
Oh,
up and the energy we bring to the calls or the meetings or whatever it is. And then a week can go by and we're just like, ugh, I don't want to do this anymore. That's when people are like, I just want to go work at Walmart or I want to go be a
right.
Starbucks barista,
Right.
right? Which those are very stressful jobs. I would not really want to have those jobs.
I
So,
would not do well of them, but
I
they are
know.
stressful. And I think, as an entrepreneur world, you don't, especially coming from a corporate kind of something, you always had someone in your corner,
Yeah.
peer to peer, even to help shake it out and say, hey, buddy, don't worry. But if you're just yourself, you go home to your family, they don't know and they don't
Right.
understand it's their job. It's our job, just like our job is to open the door, to pay the lights. It's our job to take ourselves out. And if you start treating
Mhm.
yourself as an employee in that way, say, hey, I'll let you be fussy for a little bit and then you move on. It really helps compartmentalize the down.
Yes, yes. And I think there is great value as well in something you said about it was kind of out of your control, right? Especially
Yeah.
when people are
Mhm.
price shopping and they're going to switch carriers or they want something different or, who knows why. But
Yeah.
if you've done everything you can to
Yeah.
provide the service that you said you were going to provide, and
Mhm.
that person chooses to leave, then you have to be able to live with that and know that you did everything you could and be like I say bless and release, right? Just
Yeah.
bless and
Yeah.
release them, and if they come back eventually, that's great. If they
Mhm.
don't, that's great too. They found something that works better for them in the moment.
That's right.
But we can really beat ourselves up about that sometimes.
Mhm.
So how did you get to that point where you have that ability to just not take it personally? Because I'm sure you have clients that have been with you a long, long time,
Oh,
right?
for
And if
sure.
they
For
ever
sure.
leave, then it's hard not to take it personally.
Yeah. No, now I'm to the thing. I only take compliments personally. That's it.
Oh, good.
What? The
Nice.
rest
Very
of them,
nice. I
you
love
think
it.
I look thin? I'm remembering that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You think I'm pretty? I'm putting it in my pocket.
Yeah. You're my best
But
friend for
yeah,
life. I got it.
that's right. That's right. But nothing else is about me. Not one thing. Not the price, not the service, not anything. I could have done
Yeah.
the best service and they just had a horrible day. And so they received my information with that same vibe. And that has nothing to do
Hmm.
with me. So nothing else anyone decides or does has anything to do with me. I just have to do my best job. And if they say it's great, then I'll remember it. And if not, I'll just say, okay.
Yeah.
Especially for as tumultuous this insurance industry has been over the last 6 years, more than the last 21,
Hmm.
5 years for sure. It's been a roller coaster. I've really had to own it. You know what I mean? Because I have had people with me a long time, and they're like, "I don't want to leave." I'm like, "Hey, lady, I get it." But
Yeah.
when things change, come back. And I think if you start treating people as you want to have received that information, like a hairstyles, you don't want to break up the hairstyles because if you go to the next one, you don't like them, you want to go back. But now
Right.
they've
Right.
already known you've gone with someone else, and it's all weird. So my motto is eliminate the weird. Say, back when you want, and we'll try next time. And it's
Yeah.
just again, nothing personal. Mm-mm.
Nice. Nice. It takes um a certain
awkward as hell.
confidence to get there,
Mhm.
right? Right?
Yeah,
Because especially if you're a newer business person or you are, really hanging on to every client you have. I
I
always tell
know.
people that too. If you're hanging on like this, then you can't receive anything because your hands are not open, they're
That's
grasped,
a good
right?
way to
So
do it. Yeah, that's a
so
good way to do it.
you have to let people go if they're going to let go, and never burn a bridge because the
No.
business world is so small. Never
But
burn a
based
bridge if you
on
don't
what
have
it is.
to.
Oh, totally. We are all related to Kevin Bacon. I still believe that in my heart.
Yes. Yes, I love it. I love
That
it.
dude is just universal. And I am
Yes.
not going to rock a bridge because someone got fussy or wanted to save money or just stop doing it altogether for a while. It's fine.
Right,
But it
right.
just keeps you motivated. So, you don't, I think when I was a district manager and I was helping my new agents, I'm like that, I love that analogy too, right? Because if you're just so focused on one, you're not going to be, doing what you need to do when the worst thing on a sale is now you've lost your best lead, right? So
Right.
now you're like, and that's not a bad thing. It's great. You got it. But now who's the rest? So I think and I like that visual, because it's
Yes.
100% true.
Yeah, yeah. But especially when you're just starting or things are a little tight, then you're like, I
Yeah.
can't lose a single client. I gotta keep them no matter what. And then that
Yeah.
energy also travels into your transactions with them too.
Yes, it does.
Um, so I picked up this next question on my question list here is one that I can easily pick up. What calls you forward into doing the hard and amazing things that you get to do in your work? I know that you love to help people and solve problems for people because that's come through in just the way your history of your work, especially as a district manager, when you're really helping people set up their own business and help them create the
Mhm.
freedom and the money that they want to have and the lifestyle they want to have, right? Based on these services that you can help them build. So what does Stephanie do to call yourself forward into kind of hard or amazing things that you're working on?
Really good questions. I think for me, I'm very sensitive to the pace of the leader is the pace of the pack, and that reflects in my attitude. And even if you're a team of one so far, it's also your subconscious, and in terms of like got to keep your eyes focused. So I'm very sensitive to how my mood is at the office. I'm normally pretty level 7 anyway, at least. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
everybody has dips. But I'm very sensitive because if I come in hot or I come in grouchy, I had a team of gals who it'll just rock it. So
it's
I don't allow it. I
ripple
don't allow
effect.
myself
Yeah,
to have it. And my mantra is I get paid to do hard things. And that's
nice,
what I do. And I can do them. And if I don't know how to do them, I'm going to find out how, but I get paid. That's my job. They give me money to do this. I can do it. And that's just kind
nice.
of what I say to myself when things get too hard. I'm like, they're paying me to figure this out. I can figure it out. Even if I have to rely on someone else, it's not, I can do
Right. There's
it.
everything is solvable, right? Potentially,
Everything's
right?
e- everything's fixable. That's our motto around here. Because sometimes I don't mess being as long as I do, I don't mess up as much. But when I do, they're huge mistakes.
Yeah,
I mess up, they're just absolutely enormous mistakes.
yeah.
But everything's fixable. Then you just
Right.
get creative and move on. But it happens, that's for sure.
Yes, yes. And so it's January of 2025, and for those
Yes.
people watching, whenever they're watching this, there's just been all of the horrific wildfires in California, and people's homes are just decimated, and some people didn't have insurance or were dropped by their insurance. So what kind of advice do you have for people just to kind of, it's a good reminder for us, even if you don't live in California or a fire area or floods or hurricanes or whatever is happening with the weather, what kind of things should we be checking out on our homeowners policy just to make sure that we are covered the way we should be covered?
Great question. And I think that, the just the devastation is so sad. And,
It
that's
is.
actually one of my sister and ours. We're doing our own little California wildfire relief. We're taking donations here in our office. We have like 20 bags so far we're going to give. We've done in money to Red Cross, and we are encouraging others to do it. But what that horrific sign has done is hopefully made what could happen, knock on wood, to you any given moment. So you got
Right.
to be ready. So I appreciate the question. So the first thing is even if you rent a home, even if you rent an apartment, you don't have to own. You got to have renters or homeowners insurance. You have to call the agent. And the bummer is so many carriers don't have agents anymore. So you have to at least talk to someone because a
Hmm.
couple of things you want to make sure is you want to make sure you know where your deductible is. Not that the higher the deductible, the lower the cost. So that's a good thing.
Hmm.
Um, but you got to make sure you have coverage for all types of loss. So when you get to the smaller companies, the one-off companies that are not mainstream, they might not cover you for all types of loss, whether it's fire, theft, wind, water, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you have to get two, like in California, you got to get two policies to do it. And then you want to make sure, as we just instructed a lot of these people yesterday on our video we do, you want to do an inventory of your home. You go through your own home with a camera, video your room, house, room by room, open up cupboards, cabinets, take your back of your TV and get the serial number because all I know is my TV is this big and I don't know anything else about it. I don't know. And then email it to yourself because at the time of loss, I think it's 6 months for most carrier that you're going to remember. You'll remember the big stuff. I had this couch, I had this TV. You're not going to remember the bracelet, the earrings, the
Hmm.
paintings, the photo album. The mushy stuff is hard to tangible, but the other stuff adds up. So you want to do as
Yeah.
best as you can to get yourself the documentation and email it to yourself so it's not at the home. You want to have copies of your important documents um offsite, whether it's at a family member's house or a bank or your own office somewhere. So the passports, the birth certificates,
Hmm.
the stuff that's hard to replicate, have copies of offsite. I think that that's what we have
Yeah.
man, we have total fires here on a weekly basis in Arizona.
Yeah.
It's just mass devastation that got everyone's attention, but it doesn't mean that the neighbor down the street didn't have, something horrible happen. So
Right.
as a community, as a consumer, you want to do your best with today's information to do what you can today.
Yes, good, good. Yeah, we the whole fires in California did spark us to think about what are we going to grab right in our house if we have 30 minutes to evacuate our house, what would we
Right.
grab? And we have all of our important documents in a firebox, right? So we grab the firebox because that's where everything is and it's portable.
Yes.
So we can
Yes.
grab that. But it's like looking around between our office, grab the laptops, grab your phone, and then what else? How do you
Right.
prioritize that stuff, right? And
That's
so
right.
is it easily accessible to pack up if you got 30 minutes or whatever, right? So
That's right.
so just I love the doing the home inventory as well because if everything is gone, you don't know exactly what was in your house, right?
Mm-mm.
There's so much. If you've lived in your house as long as we've lived in our house 28 years, so there's a lot of stuff in our house.
A
So,
100%. Well, and I think that, I think the big thing is especially in 28 years, you got something really cool and valuable that you might or should put on your insurance policy. But a lot of people are like, oh, can't wait to tell my insurance agent about this. You know what I mean? You just don't.
yeah,
You're like, oh,
yeah,
this is so cool. I got a fancy necklace, and you move on. And
yeah,
I think that like you talked about before, maybe an annual yearbook, but an annual inventory is really important because
yeah,
the small stuff adds up. And financially, most insurance companies, you want a replacement cost policy, which means they'll give you money, but they won't give you all of it. They'll give you the starter money, then you go replace it, turn in your receipts, and then you're
right.
made whole. But you can't even get to that point if you don't know what you have.
Okay, okay, that's
Mhm.
good. So, yeah, is that something important? We just did a Thrive Thursday masterclass with the Leap
Yes.
community, and it was a bookkeeper talking about your receipts, and now the IRS does accept scanned receipts, so you don't need to keep piles of receipts anymore once
Oh,
you
good.
scan them, which is a good tip to know.
That is a good tip.
But, do you need to show receipts? Do you need to be
Yes,
saving those somewhere, that you can
absolutely.
access them? Do you scan a receipt with your home inventory?
I think that's an excellent idea because we always say keep your receipts for the juicy big stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Not the poster I got at Kohl's, but
right, yeah.
the other stuff. But you have 6 months at any carrier, any state, the burden of proof is on the person. So
Okay,
you have to be able to prove you had the golf clubs. You had to be able to prove you had the ski stuff, whatever. And
okay.
and whether it's your pictures or receipts are always the best one. So especially the good stuff, just have a folder on your email of household receipts, and it takes you 2 seconds, take a picture, send it off,
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry about it.
Perfect. Perfect. Great
Yeah.
advice. Great advice. Okay. So, what kind of, those are great tips. What other kind of advice would you give to somebody if they're getting ready to take a leap, especially in their career or maybe starting a business or switching careers, switching to a business? What kind of advice do you have for somebody taking that leap?
Um, twofold. One is my insurance hat. You are never too new, or too baseline to protect yourself. Because what happens as a self or small business, solopreneur, I
Mhm.
quit my corporate job. I'm doing the side hustle. I don't need insurance. There's very few cases where you don't need insurance. Hardly any that I can think of.
Yeah.
One customer thing goes sideways, they sue you, you have no insurance, you have no coverage, and then goes all your assets, your time, and then the business that you just were so excited to start just goes away. In replace of a insurance policy, there's different flavors for different businesses, and I can always wherever you live. I don't sell in all states, but I'm always happy to brainstorm wherever you live. The bet it's not a very expensive of how to protect you. So that's my thing. You're never too new to be safe. Same thing is you're never if you buy your new car the first day, something bad can happen if you had it for 20 years. So just get covered the first one. And then the
Yes.
second one is I would always recommend um, find a buddy or a partner, doesn't necessarily be in your industry, that you can brainstorm with, even more from a mindset perspective, because
Yes.
they always say the tribe, but I don't have too many female agency owners that I can brainstorm with, but I have a whole lot of females that I like to keep my mind in check. And that's the most important thing we have to protect is our mindset. So it's someone to laugh with. A little venting is okay, but just celebrate wins even. And I think, Mary, the community you're building and you have
Mhm.
does that really well. But I think that that's incredibly important to protect your mindset through the power of others.
Yes, great advice. Great advice. So, thank you again, Stephanie, for being on the
Yay!
Leap to Success podcast and being a Leap for Ladies community member. We're
Yes.
just so happy to have wonderful, amazing women like Stephanie in the community. So, if it's something that you're looking into, if you're listening to this and you're like, I want to know more about Leap for Ladies, I got to get around more people like this, then you can go
Yes.
to the website, successmagnified.com, join-leap, and you'll get all the information about how to join the community. And then you can be on the podcast too. So, and
Yay!
we will post all of Stephanie's information in the show notes. So you have all the ways to get in touch with Stephanie
Great.
via email, your phone number, your address. I don't think we put your address in there, but
Yeah.
she's in Arizona, just so you know. But we will
You can
put
come by
your
and have snacks and drinks here, so it's fine.
Yes, nice, nice. Yeah, it'd be fun to go and hang out with Stephanie. So
Yeah.
we'll put all of your contact information in the show notes. So no matter where somebody's listening, they'll be able to see that and get in touch with you. So again, if you
Wonderful.
are in Arizona or just have some general insurance questions and want
Happy
to
to help.
talk to somebody, Stephanie is your gal. So give her a call.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the chance.
You're very welcome. Have a great afternoon.
Okay. Bye.